As the great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Every sunrise is a quiet invitation, a reminder that you've been given one more chance to live with purpose. But most people wake up already defeated. They open their eyes and instantly return to the chaos of yesterday, chasing noise, comparing lives, drowning in distractions. A Stoic begins differently. A Stoic greets the morning not with haste, but with awareness, not with anxiety, but with gratitude. Because to the Stoic, each morning is a battlefield for the mind. Either you master your thoughts, or they master you. The weak start their day waiting to feel motivated. The strong begin with discipline. The world reacts, but the Stoic acts. If you listen deeply to what follows, you'll understand this isn't just about motivation. This is mental warfare. Because the moment you win your mind at dawn, the rest of your life begins to align. So take a breath. Be still. This morning choose to rise, not just wake. Because from this moment forward, a new you begins. 1. Rehearse death to awaken life. The Stoics began each morning not with empty affirmations or wishful thinking, but with a deep reminder of the one truth that no one can escape: memento mori. Remember that you will die. At first, this may sound dark or depressing, but to a Stoic, it was the ultimate wake-up call. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest emperors and philosophers, would write to himself each morning about death, not to fear it, but to understand life through it. Because only when you accept that life is short, do you start truly living. Think about it. Most of the things that consume our energy are small, temporary, and meaningless in the long run. The argument you had last night, the person who ignored your message, the fear of what others think, none of it will matter when your time comes. The Stoics used the awareness of death not as a source of sadness, but as a tool of focus. They understood that mortality cuts away what's unimportant. It sharpens the mind and forces the heart to prioritize what truly matters: peace, virtue, and purpose. When you wake up and tell yourself, "I may not see another sunrise," it doesn't make you hopeless. It makes you hungry for life. You start to see the beauty in small moments: the warmth of the morning light, the breath in your lungs, the sound of your heartbeat. You stop waiting for a perfect time to change, to forgive, to love, to start. Because there is no perfect time. There is only this one right now. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we waste much of it." We act as if life is endless, but each day that passes is one less chance to live fully. When you remind yourself of death every morning, you become fearless. Fear of failure fades because you realize that time is slipping away regardless. Fear of rejection disappears because you understand that other people's opinions will die with them. The only thing that truly matters is how you choose to live right now. So begin your day with this powerful awareness. Stand by your window, take a slow breath, and say to yourself, "If this were my last day, how would I live it?" Let that question guide your choices. Don't waste your energy on arguments. Don't hold grudges. Don't wait to be ready. Do what your soul knows is right. Be kind, be bold, be present. Memento mori is not about death, it's about freedom. Freedom from fear, from procrastination, from vanity. It's the understanding that life is not measured by how long you live, but by how awake you are while living it. When you rehearse death every morning, you stop living on autopilot and start living intentionally. Every sunrise becomes a miracle, every breath becomes a privilege, and every action becomes a step toward the person you were meant to be. Remember this: you are running out of time, but that is what makes this day precious beyond measure. Use it well. 2. Practice voluntary discomfort. In a world where everything is designed to make life easier, the Stoics deliberately chose what was difficult. They called it voluntary discomfort, the art of strengthening the mind by challenging the body. Seneca used to sleep on hard floors, wear rough clothes, and eat the simplest meals, even though he was one of Rome's richest men. Why? Because he knew comfort breeds weakness. When you make life too soft, your spirit becomes fragile. You start depending on convenience for peace, and when that convenience disappears, so does your stability. Practicing voluntary discomfort is not about punishing yourself. It's about reminding yourself how strong you truly are. Take cold showers, walk instead of driving, eat plain food for a day, spend a few hours without your phone, sleep without a pillow. Each small act of self-denial builds an inner muscle. It trains your mind to stay calm when life suddenly becomes difficult. Because real strength isn't found when everything goes your way, it's revealed when things don't. The Stoics believed that luxury makes people slaves to their desires. Comfort makes us anxious, constantly afraid of losing what makes us feel safe. But once you practice living without those comforts, fear disappears. You realize you don't need much to be happy. You don't need luxury to feel content. You only need courage and control over yourself. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." When you choose discomfort each morning, even something as small as waking up early when you don't want to, you are silently telling your mind, "I am in charge, not my impulses." This daily resistance sharpens discipline, and discipline is what separates those who merely wish for greatness from those who achieve it. The Stoic warrior doesn't wait for adversity to test his strength. He creates small challenges every day to prepare for it. Imagine a soldier who only trains when the weather is perfect. The moment a storm hits, he fails. But the Stoic trains in the rain, in the cold, in the dark. That's how he stays ready for whatever life throws at him. The same applies to you. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, even in small ways, you're teaching yourself to endure, to adapt, and to rise above. So, tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone or coffee, ask yourself, what can I do today that is slightly uncomfortable? It doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be intentional. Each act of voluntary discomfort strengthens your willpower and weakens your dependency on external comfort. Because the truth is, comfort is temporary, but strength lasts forever. When you no longer fear discomfort, you become unstoppable. The Stoic doesn't seek an easy life, he seeks a strong mind. And a strong mind is built every morning, not through ease, but through deliberate hardship. Embrace a little discomfort each day, and you'll discover the rare kind of peace that nothing and no one can take away. 3. Rewrite the story before it begins. Most people wake up reacting to life. They open their eyes, grab their phone, and let the world decide their thoughts for them. Messages, news, noise, opinions. But a Stoic begins each morning as an author, not a reader. They don't wait for life to happen. They mentally prepare for it. This practice is called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. It means rehearsing potential challenges before they appear, so that when they do, your mind is ready and calm. Marcus Aurelius would begin his mornings by reminding himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." Why would a man of such wisdom start his day this way? Because he knew that expecting difficulty removes its sting. When you foresee the chaos of the day, it cannot surprise or control you. You gain the power of emotional preparation. Think of it like this: life is a movie that plays daily, but most people enter it unprepared, shocked by every scene. The Stoic, however, reads the script beforehand. He doesn't wait to react. He chooses his reaction before the moment even arrives. By imagining what could go wrong, you don't invite negativity, you neutralize it. You build mental armor. When you wake up, Visualize your day clearly. Imagine being stuck in traffic, being misunderstood, facing rejection, or hearing bad news. Then calmly tell yourself, if this happens, I will stay composed, I will breathe, I will act, not react. This mental rehearsal doesn't make you pessimistic, it makes you unshakable. Because now, when the unexpected arrives, you meet it with familiarity, not fear. Seneca compared this to soldiers training before battle. The purpose isn't to suffer ahead of time, but to build confidence. A warrior who has already faced the storm in his mind stands firm when the real one comes. You, too, can build this inner resilience. Don't wake up waiting for peace. Create it by predicting chaos and mastering your response. This Stoic technique also helps you rewrite your daily narrative. When something goes wrong, instead of saying, "Why me?" say, "I knew challenges would come, and I was built for them." This mindset turns frustration into acceptance and acceptance into power. You stop being surprised by difficulty, you start using it as fuel. Every morning, rewrite the story of your day before it unfolds. Don't be the victim of random events. Be the strategist who anticipated them. The Stoics understood that life is unpredictable, but your reaction doesn't have to be. By practicing premeditatio malorum, you free yourself from emotional chaos and step into the day like a general entering battle, calm, prepared, and undefeatable. Remember this: the day doesn't decide your mood, you do. Write your story before the world writes it for you. 4. Withdraw from the noise of the crowd. Each morning, the world tries to pull you into its noise messages, news, opinions, notifications, and endless distractions. The moment you open your phone, you invite hundreds of voices into your head before your own voice has even awakened. The Stoics knew this danger long before the digital age. They warned that the mind, if left unguarded, becomes a crowded marketplace where peace is impossible. Epictetus said, "Avoid the masses if you wish to preserve your mind." He didn't mean to reject people, he meant to protect your inner space from chaos. The first hour after you wake up is sacred. It decides the direction of your entire day. If you begin your morning reacting to the world, you become a slave to it. But if you begin by withdrawing, by turning inward, you take control of your consciousness. Imagine your mind as a lake. If you throw too many stones of noise into it, social media, gossip, comparison, the surface will stay disturbed. You'll never see your own reflection. The Stoic morning begins in still water, silence, breathing, reflection, observation. That's where clarity is born. In the time of Marcus Aurelius, people sought crowds for distraction, public games, markets, debates. Today, we have our own version of those distractions: screens, opinions, trends. The Stoic doesn't hate the world. He simply understands that wisdom cannot grow in noise. He steps away not because he's antisocial, but because solitude is strength. When you withdraw from the noise each morning, even for a few minutes, you allow your thoughts to align with your purpose instead of the world's chaos. Start your day with silence. Don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. Sit in stillness. Watch your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. Ask yourself, what do I want this day to mean? This small ritual will change everything, because when you control your attention, you control your life. When you give yourself time to hear your own thoughts, you start making decisions that reflect your true self, not the version shaped by the world's noise. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who make you better, and welcome those whom you can improve. The process is mutual, men learn as they teach." That quote is not only about people, it's about everything you let into your mind. The content you consume, the conversations you allow, the energy you absorb, these are your companions. Choose them carefully. Your morning silence helps you filter who and what deserves your mental space. When you withdraw from the noise, something extraordinary happens. your inner voice gets louder. You begin to think more clearly, act more intentionally, and feel less rushed by the world's demands. You start living instead of reacting. The Stoics didn't wait for peace to appear, they created it by setting boundaries with the outside world. So tomorrow morning, before you let the crowd enter your mind, pause. Guard your first hour like a temple. Breathe. Reflect. Feel the quiet power of being alone with your thoughts. That silence is not emptiness, it is the birthplace of wisdom. And once you master the art of peaceful solitude, no noise, no chaos can ever disturb your soul. 5. Observe your emotions as a scientist. The Stoics believed that true strength lies not in suppressing emotions, but in understanding them. Every morning, when you wake up, your mind begins producing feelings like a river: irritation, anxiety, excitement, fear, or doubt. Most people drown in that river without realizing they can step back and watch it flow. A Stoic does something different. He observes his emotions like a scientist studying nature. He doesn't say, "I am angry." He says, "There is anger in me." That small change of language changes everything. It separates your identity from your feelings and gives you the power to respond instead of react. When you learn to watch your emotions without judgment, you begin to understand their patterns. You start noticing what triggers them, what thoughts feed them, and how they fade if you don't touch them. Marcus Aurelius would journal about his feelings every morning, not to complain, but to study them like data. He treated his mind as a lab, his emotions as experiments, and his reactions as results. He knew that a man who can study his emotions can eventually master them. Modern people do the opposite. They wake up, check their phones, feel jealous, anxious, or angry, and call it a bad day. But the Stoic knows, it's not the day that's bad, it's the interpretation that is. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." By observing your emotions calmly, you realize that every feeling is just a visitor. It arrives, stays for a while, and then leaves. You don't need to fight it or invite it to stay. Just acknowledge it and let it pass. Try this simple practice. When you wake up and feel something strong, frustration, sadness, stress, don't push it away or feed it. Instead, say to yourself, "I see you." Notice where it sits in your body. Feel its texture, its warmth, its speed. Treat it like a cloud passing through your sky. The Stoic doesn't resist storms. He studies their direction and waits for them to clear. That calm observation turns emotions from enemies into teachers. Seneca once said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." This conquest begins in awareness. When you start observing instead of reacting, you realize that emotions aren't commands, they're signals. Anger tells you where your boundaries are. Fear points to where you lack trust. Sadness shows you what you value. Each emotion contains wisdom, but only if you're calm enough to listen. The Stoic listens not with panic, but with patience. The more you observe, the more emotional freedom you gain. You stop saying, "They made me angry," and start saying, "I allowed anger to rise." That shift gives you control over your inner world. People can say anything, life can throw anything, yet you remain centered. You become the calm eye in the middle of every storm. That's the essence of Stoic power. So tomorrow morning, when you wake and emotions begin to stir, become your own observer. Watch the waves of feeling move across your mind without being carried away by them. Smile at their arrival, learn from their movement, and let them go. Because the goal is not to stop feeling, it's to stop being ruled by what you feel. When you master this art, nothing outside you can truly disturb you. You'll move through your day with quiet strength, aware, calm, and in complete command of yourself. 6. Destroy the illusion of control. Every morning, Most people wake up with the same hidden illusion that they control what happens to them. They believe that if they plan well enough, work hard enough, or think positively enough, the day will unfold exactly as they want. But this illusion is the root of almost all human frustration. The Stoics knew this truth well. We control nothing outside of our own mind. The weather, the traffic, people's moods, outcomes, success, failure, all these things lie far beyond our command. What we truly control are our thoughts, our choices, and our responses. Everything else is borrowed from fate. Epictetus taught that peace begins the moment you divide the world into two categories: what's within your control and what's not. Every morning, the Stoic reminds himself of this law. He says, "Today, many things will not go as I wish, and that's okay." By expecting life to be unpredictable, he becomes untouchable by disappointment. When someone insults him, he reminds himself, "I cannot control their mouth, only my mind." When plans collapse, he tells himself, "I cannot control events, only my attitude." This simple understanding transforms chaos into calmness. Because the truth is, frustration doesn't come from events, it comes from our resistance to them. Imagine you're standing in the rain. You can curse the sky all you want, but the rain will fall regardless. A Stoic doesn't waste his energy wishing for different weather. He adjusts his cloak and continues walking. That's the essence of Stoicism: adaptation, not resistance. When you let go of the illusion that life must go your way, you begin to flow with it. Like water, you move around obstacles instead of breaking against them. Marcus Aurelius ruled one of the greatest empires in history, yet he faced betrayal, loss, war, and plague. Every morning, he would write in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That was not a poetic line, it was a survival tool. He couldn't control the empire's chaos, but he could control how he led himself through it. His calmness in storms made him a philosopher king. Now think about your own mornings. How often do you wake up already demanding that the day should please you? You expect people to act a certain way, traffic to move quickly, your plans to go smoothly, and when they don't, you feel robbed. But robbed of what, exactly? The world never promised you control, it only promised you a chance to respond with wisdom. The Stoic knows that peace begins where control ends. To destroy the illusion of control, start small. When something doesn't go your way, pause. Ask yourself, can I change this, or can I only change my reaction to it? If it's beyond your reach, release it immediately. Don't carry the weight of what isn't yours to hold. You'll feel lighter, because surrender is not weakness, it's clarity. It's the realization that peace doesn't come from controlling everything, but from mastering yourself in the middle of everything. The modern mind has been trained to panic when things go wrong, but the Stoic mind smiles. It understands that the world was never meant to obey us. Our role is to dance with it, not dominate it. When plans fail, the Stoic adapts. When people disappoint, he forgives. When life delays him, he trusts the timing. Because he knows every event, even the painful ones, is a teacher sent by the universe to strengthen his patience and shape his wisdom. Seneca said, "Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. You can fight what happens, or you can cooperate with it. The difference is suffering. The Stoic chooses cooperation. He doesn't waste energy resisting the inevitable. He focuses all his power on how he shows up to life, not how life shows up to him. So tomorrow morning, when something interrupts your plans, when the alarm doesn't ring, when someone speaks harshly, when your efforts go unnoticed, remember this truth: you were never in control of the world anyway. You were only in control of yourself. And that is enough. Because once you master your inner world, no external force can break your peace. The Stoics didn't aim to control the universe, they aimed to understand it. to move with it, not against it. Destroying the illusion of control doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. It frees you from anxiety and disappointment. It teaches you that serenity doesn't come from bending life to your will, but from bending your will toward life. When you truly understand this, every morning becomes easier. You no longer wake up demanding that the world cooperate. You wake up grateful for whatever it brings. You meet uncertainty with composure, difficulty with patience, and success with humility. You no longer need to control life because you've already mastered the only thing that matters: yourself. 7. Act without waiting for emotion. One of the greatest differences between the ordinary person and the Stoic is this. The ordinary person waits to feel motivated before taking action, but the Stoic acts because it is right, not because it feels good. Every morning, most people waste the first hours of their day waiting for inspiration, scrolling through their phones, sipping coffee, telling themselves they'll begin when they feel ready. But the Stoic knows that feelings are unreliable guests. They come and go without warning. If you wait for them to cooperate, you'll live your entire life on pause. The Stoic doesn't wait for emotion, he moves first. Because he understands the secret truth. Emotion follows motion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you wake unwillingly, say to yourself, 'I arise to do the work of a human being.'" He was reminding himself that purpose, not pleasure, must be the engine of action. The morning is when your inner war begins. One voice whispers, "Rest a little longer, you deserve comfort." The other says, "Rise, you have work to do." The Stoic always sides with the second voice. Why? Because he knows that discipline is stronger than mood. He acts from principle, not from feeling. When you act without waiting for emotion, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of laziness, fear, or doubt. You start doing what must be done simply because it must be done. And paradoxically, that's when motivation appears. When you start, energy comes. When you move, clarity follows. Waiting for inspiration is like waiting for fire without striking the match. The Stoic strikes first. Epictetus taught that we are not disturbed by things, but by our interpretation of them, and that includes work, effort, and responsibility. Most people interpret action as suffering. I don't feel like doing it. But the Stoic interprets action as alignment with nature. To him, movement is not punishment, it's purpose. A tree doesn't wait to feel ready to grow. The sun doesn't wait to feel inspired to rise. So why should you wait to do what your soul already knows is right? Every morning, when your mind resists effort, remind yourself, my emotions are guests, not masters. Whether they bring comfort or resistance, you are still in charge of the house. You can acknowledge them without obeying them. The Stoics trained themselves to act as if the feeling of resistance was irrelevant, to move with or without it. Over time, this practice builds mental steel. You stop identifying with your moods and start identifying with your mission. Seneca wrote, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." Every second spent waiting for motivation is a second stolen by hesitation. You don't need to feel good to do good. You don't need to feel confident to begin. Confidence is built in the act of doing. Once you begin, the fog of doubt starts to clear, and the mind becomes sharper through effort. Action itself generates the energy you were waiting for. Think about any great philosopher, warrior, or creator. None of them woke up every day feeling unstoppable. They woke up human, tired, doubtful, distracted, but they acted anyway, because they understood that self-mastery is not about controlling how you feel. It's about continuing despite how you feel. That's the difference between a thinker and a doer, between potential and reality. This principle is why the Stoics practiced preparation through repetition. They built routines that didn't depend on mood, morning meditation, writing, exercise, reflection, service. When you repeat these disciplines daily, they become identity. You no longer say, "I have to do this." You say, "This is who I am." The Stoic doesn't brush his teeth of virtue only when he feels like it. He does it every day, because a clean mind requires constant upkeep. To live like this, start small. When you wake up and feel resistance, that voice saying, "Not today," smile at it. It's proof that your mind is waking up before your will. Then act anyway. Move your body, write the first sentence, take the first step. Don't wait for confidence, create it through movement. Don't wait for the right time, make time right through action. Once you act, you'll realize the emotion you were waiting for wasn't a requirement, it was a reward. This is the Stoic secret to transformation: to act before you feel like it, to begin before you believe you can, to move before the world tells you it's safe. Action is what breaks the chains of fear, laziness, and doubt. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to silence the inner voice of hesitation. Remember this every morning. The difference between an average life and a powerful one lies in those first few moments after you wake up. If you choose action, you build momentum. If you wait for mood, you lose it. The Stoic's path is not comfortable, but it is freeing, because once you stop waiting for emotion, you realize that your emotions are no longer in control, you are. So, rise. Move before your mind makes excuses. Do the work before the world distracts you. The Stoics didn't wait for inspiration, they created it through disciplined action. Every morning, remind yourself, "I do not need to feel ready to begin. I begin to become ready." Act without waiting for emotion, and you'll discover something remarkable, that every step forward, no matter how small, builds the new life you were meant to live. Every morning offers you two paths, the path of reaction or the path of intention. One leads you to repeat yesterday, and the other transforms you into something new. The Stoics understood that how you begin your day determines who you become. They didn't chase motivation, comfort, or control. They chased mastery of the self. And mastery begins the moment you wake up. When you rehearse death, you remember what truly matters. When you practice discomfort, you sharpen your spirit. When you rewrite your day before it happens, you disarm chaos. When you withdraw from noise, you return to your center. When you observe your emotions, you stop being their slave. When you destroy the illusion of control, you finally find peace. And when you act without waiting for emotion, you become unstoppable. These 7 practices are not just habits, they are weapons of the mind. Every sunrise is an invitation to become your highest self. But it requires courage. The courage to live consciously, to move against comfort, and to choose discipline over distraction. Most people waste their mornings scrolling through other people's lives, forgetting that each dawn could be their last chance to change their own. The Stoic refuses that fate. He wakes up not to escape life, but to meet it with power, patience, and purpose. Remember, you are not owed tomorrow. You only have this day, this breath, this chance to be better than you were yesterday. So when the sun rises, rise with it. Greet the morning as a warrior greets the battlefield, calm, prepared, and unafraid. Take control of your first thoughts, and you'll control your destiny. Act before you feel ready, and you'll create the momentum that builds empires. Life will never be fully under your control, but your mind can be. And that's all a Stoic needs. You don't need to wait for the perfect time. The perfect time is when you decide to begin. Every day is a chance to rebuild your character, to strengthen your will, to live with honor and awareness. So tomorrow morning, don't wake up as who you were. Wake up as who you're becoming, calm like water, sharp like steel, and steady like the rising Sunday. Because when you train your mind each morning, you're not just starting a new day, you're building a new life. A life ruled not by fear or emotion, but by wisdom, strength, and unshakable inner peace. That is the Stoic way. And if you live it, not just hear it, not just read it, but live it every morning, will truly bring forth a new you and a new life.